Oh shit!
I didn't put a countdown. So we are live. Welcome to another episode of Perfectly Misfit, and boy, do we have a fucking doozy for you people this motherfucking week, guys. This show is Perfectly Misfit. I'm your host, Renee Encarnacion. This is my co-host, Daniel motherfucking Webslinger25 Web. This show is where we get to basically vent and therapeuticize and just get all our dumb shit out for the fucking week that nobody else in our lives really wants to hear because only we usually find it funny. But this week's episode is our biggest episode. We have a living, in my opinion, a living fucking legend guitarist. This guy's an old buddy of mine, and let's just go ahead and bring him on. What do you say, Dan?
Dude, fuck yeah, dude, I'm ready.
Doc fucking Coyle.
Hello, hello.
What's going on? My favorite fucking behind the bar dancer. I've never seen anybody dance more melodically to metal than I have this guy. Like,
How does
no
one
matter,
dance melodically?
just you're like I've seen you do that dance to Meshuggah. Like,
Well, I mean, you could just say I'm just not very creative. Only got a couple moves.
No, not a
Limited
creative person at all.
in my expression.
so for those of you who don't know, Doc is formerly of an amazing band with his brothers. God forbid, great fucking band. I met him, I believe it was in 2010, after a show at BB King's down in Manhattan Times Square. I think you guys played with Kitty, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. 2010, I believe that was.
Yeah, 2010. It was a little after my last deployment. Got to meet Doc afterwards, and then like a few years later, within like a year or two, I think it was, he started bartending at Duff's. For anybody who knows me, that was my every night after work spot. And
of course you know him. Holy shit.
Yeah.
God damn. Renee, like I've known Renee since 2008. And yeah, that's all this kid, every time I talk to him, that's all he fucking talks about was Duff's for the longest fucking time until he moved to Denver. So that was it. That was his life.
If you've been to Duff's, you understand. But now Doc is the guitarist for this little tiny band he's got called fucking Bad Wolves. Jesus Christ. I mean, like, I knew you were talented, man, but Jesus, this is amazing.
Well, it's not just me. I'm but a small piece of the puzzle that is Bad Wolf. So I'm just definitely grateful to be part of such a talented collective of individuals.
Yeah. I mean, everybody
in that fucking super group is what they are. I mean, the drummer from Devil Driver, holy shit. I love Devil Driver. Fucking DL now at vocals. Their new single is bad fucking ass. I've been jamming to Bad Wolves for over a week now. I went all through God Forbid. I've listened to every fucking album God Forbid had. They had 6 that are available. Dude, it's been such a pleasure to go back and listen to some of my favorite shit.
Let's get some of the attention away from Doc here. So everybody loves Renee, apparently. Like, dude, we never get these many comments, so I got to put them out.
No, not at all. But hey, outstanding. So you filled in for Lamb of God and Trivium, Unearthed, Westfield Massacre, and Darkest Hour. Those are all phenomenal bands. I am super excited about the Lamb of God. That's one of my favorite bands. And it was like during the tour when you opened up for Metallica, correct?
Yeah, this was 2009. The tour was about 9-week tour, but I did like the first third of the tour, so I did about 3.5 weeks between opening for Metallica and then a few headliners, Lamb of God headlining shows.
That's fucking awesome. That had to have been just amazing, especially with Metallica in it and the lineup for those shows. I mean, one, it's fucking Lamb of God. I would have went just for Lamb of God. Metallica was the shittiest band of the lineup. but I just
Metallica,
that had to have been
Metallica is a
so
band
amazing.
that like I listen to almost the same way I listen to the Grateful Dead. It's like Metallica's, they might have one or two songs that I really, really like. But the rest I listen to basically out of respect. It's just like, obviously these dudes have been around fucking for God knows how long, and they're still doing it, and they're still developing new fans. But yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Dan. Lamb of God was probably the headliner for me on that
Well,
lineup.
Metallica's
filled
my
in-
favorite band of all time, so I'll
God damn
tolerate
it.
zero
Yeah, I'm
slander
not-
here.
I'll just sort myself
I'm
up. in
fine
that
with
chat.
that, but if they, yes, after Reload, they were fucking trash. But no, and you filled on bass, right? Not even like normal guitar.
No, for Lamb of God, I filled in for Mark Morton, so I played lead guitar.
Oh, okay. It's Trivium. I got them mixed up. Trivium, you filled in
Yeah.
on bass, which
Yeah,
is,
that was just one show.
Oh, okay. So I did some research, and it said it was like a mini tour that you did it. So one show is still fucking amazing. So like my top 5 of like this era of metal is Avenged Sevenfold's my favorite fucking band. For the last almost 20 years have been my favorite band. Trivium is number 2. In this era of that fucking, and then Renee hates me on this, but I fucking love Five Finger Death Punch, which is actually where I saw you for the first time in 2018. The lineup was Bad Wolves, Bullet for My Valentine, Breaking Benjamin, and Five Finger Death Punch. And
No, that was nothing more. Not Bullet.
I'm pretty sure in Grand Rapids, Michigan is where it was at Van Andel Arena. I swear it was Bullet. It could have been. It could have been nothing more. Because you're right. Because Avenged Sevenfold was Bullet. I saw them about the same time.
Well, we did a second leg of the tour where we played second, and Fire from the Gods. What was it? No, I'm sorry.
Fire from the Gods. They were there too. Fire from the Gods. I forgot about them.
Yeah, actually, I might be getting my tours mixed up because one was From Ashes to New opened, and then we were second, and then one we opened and Nothing More was second, and then the other one was us. I'm sorry, was Fire from the Gods, us, 3 Days Grace, and then Five Fingers. So few iterations of similar tours.
It was one of the best. That was my favorite show I've been to. Not only because at the time, like you guys were like super hot with Zombie, which a great song. I love the cover. The Disobey album in general had like so many great songs on it. But you guys fucking killed it that night. You just fucking on fire. Five Finger Death Punch put on one hell of a fucking show with all their pyro, and my buddy that I went with got hit in the face with a pick, and they have dick picks, so got hit right in the eye. That was funny as shit.
Hey Dan, Stephanie's got a really good question. I like this.
Oh, okay, my bad.
When you play for other bands, how long does it take you to learn their songs?
It depends on the band and how much time I have. You know, if I have enough time, I kind of like to do a song a day, you know, where I'll kind of absorb whatever that is within one day and then review, kind of sleep on it, review what I learned the previous day, and then get on to the next one. I mean, something super easy, you know, very basic. You can probably, you know, maybe you can handle 2 or 3 in a day. But I think it's just better for the brain to kind of absorb when you're not absorbing too much information at one time, you know. And then it gets a little more complicated if there's like, if I'm learning guitar solos and things like that, you know, maybe sometimes I'll learn the bulk of the song, and then, you know, if it's a kind of complicated guitar solo, maybe that'll be a whole other day of just working on the guitar solo, you know, and kind of going through that, which has its whole different level of, you know, in terms of understanding what's happening, kind of intellectually, but then also the mechanics. Maybe there's some techniques in there I'm not familiar with, or some movements that just require a lot more work. And then even when you learn it, maybe it'll take you a few weeks of just like getting the repetition, where there's certain trouble spots that maybe aren't something you're familiar with as a player, and you have to kind of like work on some different techniques. So so really it really depends. But I'm pretty fast, but I prefer to take my time if I can.
Is that your pity?
Yeah. I think my lady's coming home, so she.
What was it, during the pandemic you got the Pitbull, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a cute moment I was watching on your Instagram a couple of years ago. It was awesome.
She's the best. She's crazy, but
how did Denver treat you when you came out, when you guys were with Papa Roach? You were literally at the like venue across the street from my bar I worked at.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being a good show. So it's we always have a good time there. It's a great venue, the Fillmore over there, and the best thing about that tour we did with Papa Roach and Hollywood Dead is every day, even though we were playing first, it was a full house. People showed up early. It was fun. It was great. And we're getting ready to do the second leg coming up next month. So I was literally right before I came in here, I was like putting together some set list ideas and, kind of we're in the middle of like writing a new album. We just started writing a new album, but also we're reintegrating our old guitar player Max into the band. So he hasn't played, pretty much a lot of these songs since, he like recorded a lot of them. So it's, so I have to get a bunch of notes for him together and it's anytime we have a new member, it's like a whole new world.
Right. Yeah. 'Cause they got to learn all your old stuff too.
Doc, what do you listen to? Like, I get it, Metallica's your shit, but like, what, when you're trying to listen to something different that isn't rock, like, because I know you're very eclectic. You're very much like myself.
I mean, usually just depends on, what mood I'm in. I'm always trying to find 9 out of 10 times something new, if I can, because, if I can, I can go back into the files, something that's like a favorite of mine. It's like, oh, I'm in this mood, I'll put on, Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys, or I'll listen to, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill or something like that if I want to go old school. But I'm always trying to find new stuff, like I've been kind of on like a synthwave kick lately, and so I'll just like, like we're driving, I was like, oh, let me just put on this look up a Spotify synthwave playlist, found like a retro playlist, and it wasn't even retro groups, but it was current bands who sound retro, and I found like,
I love that.
Cool,
I'm loving that,
and there's Spotify has this thing called Release Radar, and essentially based on your listening habits, it'll give you 10 to kind of 20 tracks every Friday that are new, that just came out that week, or maybe songs that bands are pushing. And I always find cool stuff there, like this band The Metric. Do you guys know them? Kind of like
I feel like I've heard the name, but
like an alt indie band. Found a couple really cool tracks from them recently, or maybe I'll find some cool hip hop tracks, or just whatever, man. I'm always trying to find something, but at the same time, I'm also like trying to keep up with what's happening in metal. Whether it's this new band Bloody Wood just came out. I've been checking out their record. This Indian metal band. I really liking what they're doing.
Indian metal, nice.
Yeah, they're incredible.
Bloody Wood.
Bloody Wood.
Yeah,
like Bollywood, but bloody.
You ever seen the show Letterkenny?
I know what it is, but I've never watched it.
I mean, you can skip the whole show, but one day, if you remember, just look up Letterkenny soundtrack on YouTube, and people have done like the YouTube mixes of just like all the music videos, and I have found so much like Brazilian like hip hop that's just dope. Some actual I'm not a huge electronic. I grew up in high school like listening to a lot of trance and shit like that, but not into the new EDM scene kind of mixes and shit. But they have some definite EDM style music on the soundtrack, and then just little B-sides. I had never heard A Crow Left of the Murder by Incubus until it was on that show, and I was like, "What the? It sounds like Incubus." And then I looked it up, and I was like, "All right, we got a new favorite song," and I listened to it like every day for like a week straight. But yeah, definitely check that out in my non-musical hat.
Sure.
But we can, before we transition into our regular silly segments. What do you got to promote, Doc? You got any? What's coming up with the tours? What do the people need to know before they get bored and maybe halfway through the tune out like they usually do? But our numbers are actually going up. Quite cool.
I mean, there's a God Forbid reunion show happening at Blue Ridge Rock Festival in Virginia.
Okay.
The week of September 8th through the 11th, and so get tickets to that if you want to see the God Forbid reunion. Like I said, Bad Wolves is going on tour with Papa Roach, Falling Universe, and Hollywood and Dead starting at the end of July. So tickets are on sale for that. And we have Bad Wolves is dropping a new digital EP coming up next few weeks. New music video, new songs going to radio. So, and then we're doing Bad Wolves is also playing Blue Ridge Rock Fest, and Bad Wolves is also playing Rocklahoma in the first week of September as well. So that's pretty much it. The new, the latest Bad Wolves album, Dear Monster, has been out since last October. Definitely give that a listen and check out my podcast, The X-Man. Just had Dave Whitty from Municipal Waste on last week, and
Tell them what your podcast is about, the X-Man. Because I really love that concept.
Later, but
the premise, is fairly simple. I started the show at a time when I was going back to like 2015, 2016. I was doing a lot of writing about my own experience, trying to figure out what I was doing with my life and my career after I quit God Forbid, and I thought that was an interesting kind of jumping off point to have conversations with other musicians and other kind of creative professionals who have left situations. So the X-Man is a premise about, someone who's an ex-member or ex-blank and kind of found something else in life. But, I'll pretty much talk to anyone. That's just kind of a hook of the program. And but I'll do all kinds of
I'm sure you can only find so many X-Men.
Not really. It's pretty endless.
Everybody. So I don't know if you know, that's kind of how I started this show. The show's called Perfectly Misfit because I was asked to co-host 2 different other podcasts who, after a little while, eventually got tired of my shit and asked me to leave. But it was always like, "Oh, dude, you should fucking be on our show. You'd be perfect." And then it's, "Hey, you're not really a good fit for us." So, and I think you remember, I love the Misfits. So like that was how we came up with this show. It's like, I guess I consider myself an X-Man myself.
Yeah, you track anyone, it's very, very rare where you find someone who's pretty much done one thing for their whole life. We all have different chapters and transitions, in life.
Dan, did I ever tell you the story when I got to hang out with Doc in LA?
No, sir.
Yeah, it took me to this bar called Loaded, and it felt like a model party. Like it was like nothing but like 9s and 10s. I was like, Jesus, this really is LA. Like it was a good time.
He's a fucking rock star. What do you think he's gonna?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
3s and 4s.
Well, he was hanging out with me for some reason. But yeah, I went out there to go see. I had Disney. I saw Joey Diaz. I saw Kevin Smith's podcast, Hollywood Babylon. Yeah, that was a whole adventure. Hung out with Doc, hung out with Joey. Yeah. Have you met Joey yet, Doc?
Which Joey?
Joey Diaz?
Oh,
come on, cocksucker. You know who I'm talking about, cocksucker.
Yeah.
No, I've never met him. I know who he is. Yeah.
Next time I come out, I'll introduce you guys. But yeah, so let's get into our regular segments, and I already brought up Letterkenny, so we can.
Hold on just a second. So,
hold on there, brother.
Hold on, brother. So X-Men, that you've only got a couple of episodes on your actual YouTube page.
Yeah.
I've watched all of them. Where can you find the rest? The Apple Podcast, Spotify?
Yeah, pretty much. Just an audio form through Apple, through Spotify, through the Sound Talent media page. Yeah, and partially, I just literally just haven't gotten around to uploading all my shows on the YouTube because it's just time consuming. So one of these days it'll happen.
That's where we're at with uploading all of our episodes on Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally, like I have this StreamYard service because it just does it for me. It literally sends it onto YouTube, and then YouTube saves it itself, and then it saves a copy, audio and video on the site. Costs me $25 a month, but I feel like it's worth it. And it actually yelled at me today. I got to delete some shit because we're out of storage.
Awesome.
Anything
I'm
else,
glad
Dan?
I can find it there. Yeah, but you know what? We'll get into our other stuff. I feel like I'm like doing like too much of an actual interview instead of just a hang. But I have so many fucking questions I want to ask you, but let's just go back to the hang.
Yeah, and also we got about 25 more minutes with Doc, so let's get through the other segments. Doc is into the docs. I completely forgot that I have not watched the George Carlin documentary, and so I started it about a day and a half ago, and it's like fucking 3 hours, 4 hours. I think it's two parts at like an hour 40 each or some shit like that.
Yeah, each
right?
one's about a couple hours. Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't been able to bang out all of it, but I've been hearing a lot of talk about it on the comedy podcasts and pod shows, shit that I listen to on a regular basis. Was that like one of your favorite comedians coming up, Doc? Or
I mean, more so than a favorite comedian. I mean, someone that really shaped kind of how I see the world, in terms of philosophy and his, I think especially when I was seeing some of the stuff, I was, 12, 13, 14 years old, and you're really kind of just putting on your thinking hat and kind of starting to kind of question your surroundings and understand who you are, what you believe. And so he was just a very formative figure for me. And I think it's perfect timing for kind of an all encompassing documentary about his life to show up, because what sets him apart from, I think, most other comedians is, he probably had the most relevant and piercing social commentary and social criticism of any comedian. And kind of, he was the one that established that job is actually two different things, or can be two things, right? There's some people who are just there purely to entertain and make you laugh, and some people who are using that position to kind of say something bigger and broader about society at large. And so these bits that he's done, and these big pieces of social commentary, even though they're really funny, they show up all the time when there's like an issue with it, where it's like, oh, here's an abortion thing going on, and then people will kind of repurpose his views on on that, or you had stuff during the pandemic when he had this whole bit about it's like he's like we swam in raw sewage and it made us stronger. He's like kind of being an opposite of a germaphobe, which that was kind of relevant to what was going on during the pandemic, people having conversations around that. So his stuff, not that everything he did was perfect, but it seems to be kind of evergreen, that you can always go back and find some wisdom that is still relevant, which is, I think, rare for commentary that was made 40 years ago or 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. And I guess it just makes sense, but like to see footage of him basically in black and white, I was like, oh shit, he's doing comedy for that fucking long. God damn. And he was just like trying to be all clean and like learn how to just figure out the audience before he just stopped giving a shit about people's really like opinions. I feel like the only thing like that we still have to today is like Lewis Black. He's the only other comedian who's just that much insightful as to current events, what's going on in today's society and social commentary. But he's also just a little more angry.
Well,
George Carlin. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, George, he was a prolific character to the point where no one really knew what his political stances were. Like, so, like, the right tried to claim him on some of his stances, and the left tried to claim him on some of his stances. Where, like, Lewis Black, he is a complete lefty, and you know all of it. Same with, like, Jon Stewart and all the other political comedians. But George fucking did such a great job of really kind of blurring the lines of political parties and making it so, like, you didn't actually know what way he fucking leaned because he had points of view on both sides, and you see it today. Like what Doc was saying during the
I
pandemic.
disagree. Yeah. I think he was definitively left wing in most of his positions, and a lot of it was very obvious. I think what has happened though, with some exceptions, obviously, like there's certain things. What has happened though is culture has shifted, where certain things that were considered to be in the left side of the political field in the 90s is now considered to be center or right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so right. That, like, his, proclamations about being very against political correct speech, for example, is something that was a much more left-wing viewpoint in the 80s and 90s based on like the moral majority and what was going on with like the evangelical community and who had power, right? It was Reagan and old Bush and very kind of stiff upper lip type of culture and that has shifted, where now the left is a bit more or a lot more, policing of language and some of those things. But I think you are correct. If anything, he despised the entire political process as in general. And but I do think the conversation has altered, and so now what a lot of people who fall on one side of that spectrum will do is they'll kind of cherry pick certain George Carlin bits and say he's like, oh, he's one of us, kind of in the same. And I think this happens with pieces of art all the time, right? Like the right wing co-opting the term "red pilled," for example, which is from The Matrix, which was made by two trans women. Which was a metaphor for finding, becoming the person that they really wanted to be. And that's how it is. You make art and the world kind of, rips it and takes what they want like a vulture and kind of, repurpose it. And to some degree, you don't get to own it anymore, especially if you're dead.
True. Shit. Man's got a point. My man's got a point. Got a point, my man's.
Very good. Very articulate.
I haven't watched. So I know Doc's also watched Stranger Things recently. I haven't caught up on that either. What about you, Dan?
No, I watched one season and it was too kidsy.
I actually love it for exactly what they made it to be, and they want it to be very nostalgic. They wanted to have that old school feeling. I love Stranger Things. Just haven't found the time to yet. But I have seen this, and Dan's going to check out for the next 3 minutes while we talk about Obi-Wan. What did you think, bro? I
haven't finished. I didn't see the last episode, so no spoilers.
No spoilers. We definitely don't do spoilers too heavy on this show because a lot of the few people who do watch us have the same interests as we do, so we don't want to spoil the shit that they love.
Cool. I've enjoyed it, but I'm critical. I have some criticisms.
Yeah, the beginning was a little too it took me almost a week to get through the first episode, just because it was like a little too slow. I think we don't get Vader until like episode 3, but yeah. What's your criticisms?
I'm not the person who necessarily needs to go back and revisit all of the older characters. I feel like there's kind of diminishing returns. Like I don't need like a nostalgia boost to be like more interested. I just happen to like the Star Wars universe, and I think there's great stories to tell within that universe. And so that's not like the hook for me. Like I'm not like, I need to see Obi-Wan. I'm glad Ewan McGregor's back because he's such a great actor and he did such a great job in that role. And for the people that do have the nostalgia, I'm like happy for them. But my issue is that they just, that we've had a handful of these Star Wars shows on Disney Plus, and it's the same premise, which is you have an older kind of, fatherly figure that takes care of a young kid. So you have Mandalorian taking care of Baby Yoda. So, and then you have, and the Bad Batch there, you have the clone guys taking care of the young clone. Like, it just seems like it's
What
not
about
very creative.
Boba Fett was a little different. I liked that.
A little different, but I'm just saying, out of a handful of shows, you have a very similar premise, and
Isn't that the premise for all Star Wars stuff, though? The older guy taking care of the younger person. Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan.
Sure. But this is specifically like a kid, and so the problem with it, which I would actually relate a little bit to the Hawkeye show. Obviously that's Marvel, but it's an Obi-Wan show, and then it's all this stuff about young Leia, which it's like, can I get a show about Obi-Wan? You know what I'm saying? And that was the thing. It was like the Hawkeye show mainly, showcased this new character who was great. She was awesome. But it's like, it feels like false advertising a little bit. And I just think there's some things with the plot and the story that are just, a little, you have to suspend your disbelief to a certain point. Like, it doesn't really respect the viewer. And I wonder if, with this one, it seems like they're really playing towards a younger audience, which is okay, right? It's Star Wars, right? Like, it's a lot of the stuff was geared towards kids, and that's probably what they're trying to do with having younger characters.
Disney trying to get their money,
Yeah, which obviously, that's their business. That's their job. So, but a little bit of it is like, it's, it's interesting. I was rewatching. I got the original Jurassic Park on 4K, and it's a beautiful transfer. It's incredible, and you watch that, and like the Jeff Goldblum's character essentially serves as like a smart person who interrogates why a Jurassic Park even exists, and he does it so intelligently, and it's like he's almost like a script supervisor. It's like he's like, you thought so much that you could do it. You didn't think that you should. He basically, and it's like, it would be great if you had a character like that in every movie, in every story, because you have someone go, why did you do that? That's stupid. Can you act smart? Like you want an environment that respects the viewer more, and it respects their intelligence more, and just doesn't have dumb things that happen without kind of reasoning. But it's still a fun show, and I'd rather have some Star Wars shows, even if they're not perfect, because I'm gonna watch all of them, and I'm gonna enjoy them all, but I can still have some criticisms. And also, the last one, it's like, oh, Star Wars TV, they're gonna go to all these places. It's like, nope, desert, Tatooine, we go to one place. I'm like, you got the entire galaxy, and all you do is stay in the dirty ass desert every show. Come on.
Yeah, Boba Fett was pretty desert heavy. I think you need to do that when you're dealing with the Sand People, though. But I'm so happy to have a fellow Star Wars fan on the show, because I never get to talk about it on here because Dan could give two fucking shits. He is Marvel.
I'm a Marvel guy, though, so it's like, hey,
obviously with the web singer.
Yeah, I watch everything Marvel.
Doc, I literally have a Stormtrooper Star Wars Nixon watch. I mean, wallet.
No. I'm a Marvel guy too. I love the Marvel stuff.
Show.
Oh, so then, Doc, maybe you can. Have you watched Moon Knight?
Yeah, that was great.
See, Dan loved it.
I fucking love Moon Knight, dude. It was so fucking good. They missed they missed some of his personalities, but it's only season 1. So if they from what I understand, they're not going to do a season 2. They're going to transition it into a movie.
Yeah.
From what I've read on comicbook.com. But I hope they continue with the series so they can break the character down so much more, because Moon Knight is such a fun fucking character who gets regulated, who could be like a huge cosmic superhero who gets regulated down to like a city superhero. So, like he's like essentially another member of the Heroes for Hire, um, or like the Hell's Kitchen crew, like Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, all those guys. But where he could be just so much more. But he's so fucking crazy from all of his other personalities that he can't really fucking handle anything but that. So
That's
one thing
my
I
whole
really
problem with
love
that
about
show is his ADD kind of fucks with my ADD, and I can't keep up with it. Like it just the way that show jumps around, it fries my brain. I literally am just like, no, I can't. I don't know.
that matched my ADD because like every time I was like, oh, all right, let's move on. Like it cut to somewhere else, and then like right when I was getting bored with that, it'd go right back, like, and then every time I'd get tired of Steven, Mark would show up, and every time I got tired of Mark, Steven was there. It was awesome, man. Everything about that show I really loved. I cannot wait to see what the hell comes next because something needs to happen next.
I'll eventually
Especially
run
when
out.
they
I'll eventually run out of shows and force myself to watch that. But
Did you watch Peacemaker at all, Doc?
Yeah, that was incredible.
I loved Peacemaker. Same thing with the like Obi-Wan though. First episode, I was just like, this is stupid. And Dan's like, Renee, please just stick with it. He begged me, and I was
Well,
like,
I feel like
all right.
if you watch the last Suicide Squad, it's the same comedic energy.
It is. It's a James Gunn show. And Cena, like Peacemaker, is his, in my opinion, was Cena's acting. Like he was great in Cockblockers and a couple of other movies, but Cena as Peacemaker was his best like shit yet. And I cannot wait to see more Peacemaker. It has like the same comedy aspects of like almost like The Boys on Amazon, where it's like really dark humor, and like the storyline's dark, and I like that, but like it still has just.
That's another one I still am behind on. I got to catch up on The Boys. I know it's
Have you watched The Boys at all, Doc?
Yeah, I haven't started the new season though.
So again, we're trucking along here. Doc saw the new Top Gun. I don't remember if you've seen it yet, Dan.
No.
Well,
you must be a communist then. So
cool.
Well, no, I was in the army. I wasn't in the Navy.
I didn't have a red on the fucking show. Jesus, fucking Wolverines, bro. Wolverfuckerines. I loved it. It hit every note that it wanted to for me. Like just every fucking nostalgia note. I mean, every little gay nuance from the first one, they brought it back as well. I think what they do, like shirtless football, this one instead of shirtless volleyball. It was, yeah. They literally went from like almost for like scene for. They brought back the old motorcycle. It was like, even
I
like
loved
that.
The first one. I absolutely did. I want to see it. I've just been so freaking busy with kid stuff, and that like by the time like I do have a chance to see it, I'm worn out. I've got baseball 4 days a week, so it's like just driving kids all over the place now. My daughter's in like a fucking softball tournament right now, which is awesome. We're like, and she's killing it, so it's really fun watching that. And so, like I said, I burn myself out for all my excitement and cheering them on during the week. That by the time it's like the weekend.
Did you guys not have Doctor Strange 2 planned or no? I feel like
I want to. We were supposed to see it, but I got sunburnt really bad last week, and there was no way I was going anywhere. I'm white, dude, like super white, and 10 minutes out in the sun here in Michigan, I fry like a pancake, bro. So I just stopped being sunburned today.
White people problems.
I know, dude. I know. I'm sorry.
Doc's like, I've never burned a day in my life. I just get a little browner.
I have. I get pretty light if I don't, but I also absorb the color pretty well too. So yeah.
I was gonna say, dude, we got that brown. There's the white. There's the brown. I drive all day, so I'm like constantly in the sun. It's like seeing my red ass face. Just bad lighting. I gotta fix that. Doc doesn't cook very much. He's not much of a foodie. Likes his likes his donuts, likes his coffee, and keeps it moving. Apparently, those his 3 fucking food groups.
I try to eat pretty healthy, but I feel like when you eat healthy, it's pretty boring. It's
Well, so like I mean,
broccoli and
what we do
eggs.
here, we like to talk about restaurants we might have visited, or like Dan has a fucking
Bro, I
gaggle
got a
of
perfect
kids.
example.
He's got a gaggle of kids, so like he's always cooking. I'm more a bachelor, so I'm like I eat out all the time. So we don't really like to shout out too many, corporate chains. If we like find a nice little mom and pop shop or have like a good hoagie, I'll have a good sandwich at a bar somewhere. I don't have anything for this week. I'll just bring back the Brutal Poodle. The Brutal Poodle is like it's a metal bar with amazing food. Like it's crazy. Like
Where's that?
In here in Denver on South Broadway.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really fucking awesome spot.
Great name.
Yeah, the logo is like a metalled out poodle with like fangs and shit. And like the collar with the spikes. It's pretty freaking cool. Actually, this is a good
I can talk about a spot. It was in Vegas when me and John from Bad Wolves, we were driving up there to go right, and we bought these donuts from this place called Pink Box Donuts, and we got we got a dozen, but these were crazy, insane donuts. And there was like this rest stop you can go, but apparently it's all over Vegas. So Pink Box Donuts, like off the chain, then on the chain and off the chain again. All right, that shit'll mess you up. All right.
Yeah. Have you ever had a Voodoo donut?
Yeah. And Voodoo's great.
That's our crazy donut spot.
Yeah, this place, Pink Dot, it's like, or Pink Box, excuse me. I think it might be that next level. And there was this one spot that used to live on Wilshire in LA called CK Donuts, which was like my go-to. But this spot, Pink Box, man, this is some serious shit.
And you think is that like a Vegas exclusive thing?
I don't know, but they are in Vegas, so
Okay. A couple of our listeners are going to be in Vegas for Skankfest come the end of this year. So maybe they stop by Pink Box while they're in fucking Vegas. I don't know if I'll be able to make it out to Skankfest, but
I know you didn't see the question, Doc, but one of our listeners asked what your diet is normally like.
I mean, again, pretty simple. My girlfriend, she basically, cooks like, she like won't let me cook. I have to like go out of my way. But it's morning, eggs, But like because of my doctor and cholesterol, I have to start using like one egg, and then like the it's like an egg beater kind of type thing that has no it's like basically an egg white, So keep the cholesterol down, and veggies, sauteed veggies, and salads, and she's vegan, so a lot of
are you mostly plant-based, it sounds like?
Not really, but she cooks a lot but it's good. Like it's pretty amazing, dude. Like Impossible has this like sausages, but like the ones you get like in the Jimmy Dean ones that are in like that little tube. Yep. And dude, yeah. you wouldn't even be able to tell. It's insane, like how good it is now. So yeah, man, it's like, it's protein, starch, vegetable. It's not that crazy,
This is a tough one too. It's the same person's got another follow-up because as someone who does comedy, I'm not going to call myself a comedian anymore. Something I always hear from my real comedian friends is like when on tour or on the road, it gets really difficult to maintain like a healthy diet. So that's a good question. Beer time, buddy.
We're lucky because we, with Bad Wolves, we've almost primarily done these big arena type tours, and usually when you do those tours, everything's catered, so you can eat healthier on tour. You're eating, like I said, it's grilled chicken, and there's salmon, and there's.
Do you have a writer, Doc?
I mean, every band has a writer, But I'm not talking. But I'm not talking about the ride. I mean, the rider is pretty. It'll have your club soda and beer and a veggie plate and like deli meats. But then there's actual like catering, like you go to and there's meals. So you can and like I said, it ain't rocket science. It's protein. It's some potatoes or some rice or and veggies. It's not like I said, eating a normal quote unquote diet is pretty straightforward. But it'll be themed. It'll be Mexican day, and they'll have fajitas one day, or they'll do shepherd's pie one day, or they'll do a pasta day.
A lot of those newer catering companies realize that this generation of like touring artists like yourself probably want to maintain a healthier diet, so therefore they're like kind of.
It's just how it is. I mean, you get to any band of any level, most of those people are trying to stay in shape and eat well and work out because you kind of have to, especially once you get over 40. Most of those bands, most of the guys, they don't drink anymore, they don't party anymore because they're really focused on being able to perform at a high level, and it just gets harder to live on the edges of that. So it's amazing. And a lot of these bands, they look great, they're taking care of themselves. It's something to really like pay attention to. You want to see the habits of kind of successful individuals and groups, and and by the way, in having proximity to that and be part of tours like that, it's definitely we're lucky to be in that position.
I'm literally envisioning James Hetfield. Everybody thinks he's probably backstage slamming a bottle of Jack Daniels, and probably he's drinking some
he's been sober for like 20 years.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's probably, and the reality is he's probably backstage doing yoga, getting all limber and shit, and fucking drinking some nice tea or some shit. Yeah.
Well, I'm in a band with Kirk and Rob, and they're both extremely healthy.
Nice.
Like Kirk won't even drink out of plastic bottles because he's worried about microplastics and stuff. So it's
hell yeah. These writers like glass bottled water only, motherfuckers.
Yeah, and they look great, and that's why they take care of themselves. That's why they can go out and play a 2-hour set, and really hold it down, and you gotta,
What's the name of that band that you're with Kirk?
Well, the Wedding Band.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like an all-star cover band with Whitfield Crane from Ugly Kid Joe and Mark Ostergueda from Death Angel, and the drummer is John Theodore from Queens of the Stone Age.
What?
Fucking hey, dude.
Yeah,
that's a fucking super group too. Holy shit.
Yeah, no, it's a cool band. We just played up in Napa Valley, like 6 weeks ago.
So Doc, Dan, one of us needs to get married and raise like $100,000 so that we can have them play our fucking wedding.
Oh my god!
I'm guessing $100,000 might get you out there. I don't know.
I don't take care of the bills. I just show up.
I just collect the check. Somebody, I just triggered a certain girlfriend. We'll cut that out of the replay. I know you're into comedy. You have your podcast. What are the podcasts you listen to on a weekly basis? And if there's a lot of them, like, just pick out your favorites from the past week or two.
I listen to Bill Simmons' podcast, like, basically talking about hoops for the most part, NBA stuff, which probably the NBA ones I listen to his, and then Zach Lowe, the ESPN guy, the most. And then I listen to the New York Times, the Daily podcast, probably a few times a week, which is like, they'll cover one main story, but it's just very comprehensive, and it's usually under a half hour, and it really seems to encapsulate a particular story in a really great.
The Daily podcast.
The Daily is basically the most popular podcast besides like Rogan or something like that, or whatever's at the the top podcast, but it's for news. It's like basically the most popular one, but they just do a great job. I'll listen. There's other one through the ringer called the Rewatchables. I love, and they'll just pick like a movie like a movie that would come on TV that's like, The Fugitive. I gotta watch The Fugitive, or Speed, and they'll pick them. It's just a fun one. Been listening to that a lot lately. Stuff kind of more in the political realm. 538 has a really good podcast. This guy Josh Zepps, who's this Australian guy, kind of talks about kind of culture and politics. Ezra Klein has a show through the New York Times I like as well. Sam Harris.
Was Ezra Klein? Was that he NPR? Was
he was Vox. He started Vox.
Okay, I know that name.
Yeah, he left Vox to go work for the New York Times, and then Sam Harris. I love his show. It kind of depends, and then like, depending on the mood I'm in, it's like I'll listen to Josta's podcast, or I'm trying to think like it's like I go through these phases where it's like I'm really listening to like shows.
Jesse Leach has a new show on the Too Much Content Network.
I haven't listened. I gotta check it out. Rob Flynn's his podcast is great. I'll listen to that sometimes. There's some great ones, man. There's a lot of great stuff out there. Finn McKenty is. We're huge fans of
the Too Much Content group network here. We've had the owners of that company on our show quite a few times.
I go through different phases. I mean, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Those guys.
I just discovered they have a fucking podcast. Did you see the newest one?
No, I was going in reverse order. I was starting at the beginning because they were doing each episode, and I kind of got lost with it. But it's hilarious. They're just so fucking funny.
It popped up on my YouTube suggested, because if there's a visual format of certain podcasts, I will have to watch it. So like when that popped up on my recommendeds, I was like, what the fuck is this? And they had Greg McElhenney, right? The curly hair one. Rob.
No, it was Charlie, Rob McElhenney, and then the guy who plays Dennis. I forget his name.
Him. Dennis. So Dennis was not on the show. They had a sex doll that looked like Dennis.
Yeah. The sex doll is from the show.
Yeah. So, but I memean, they had him sitting in his spot, that was the part that was fucking killing me. So, when I saw that, I watched about 3-5 minutes of it and realized it was the most recent episode. And I'm gonna do what you did and start from the beginning. That's I do a lot of driving for work, so I'm in the car listening to podcasts all the time. Do you listen to any other comedy podcasts? Because that's like, I feel like an idiot compared to listening to all the smart podcasts that you listen to.
When I started, I'm going to list mine here in a second. I'm going.
Dan and I might as well just listen to the Dick Fart Cum podcast, because like compared to the shit you just listed off, we are a couple of fucking bozos.
Well, no, it just depends what mood. I mean, I feel like when I first got into podcasts, it was, Rogan and Mark Maron and Bill Burr, and, a lot of the stuff kind of off of that tree, Brian Callen, a lot of that stuff. And, and I just kind of, it seemed like a lot of that stuff seemed to be very cyclical, like it was like kind of very similar in nature. And Rogan kind of like, as soon as he got way deep into like the vaccine stuff and the COVID stuff, it just kind of was like too much. And I was just like, it's like, let me know when you're talking about aliens.
That is one problem in the comedy world, is that, and I noticed that as well a couple of years ago. I started to fall out of love for certain podcasts, because what would happen would be, and this is fine, and this is really how it should be, is a comedian would be coming out with a special, and then like, he'd be like an East Coast comic, and then fly out West and like to promote, and then hit every single fucking podcast that I love. And it's just like, in 1 week, I don't want to hear basically the same interview with the same person. 4 or 5 times
in a week.
Yeah, I mean there are some people who like now it's like some of the younger newer comics are starting to do the rounds. Chris Stefano's blowing up. Stavros like that.
Stavros, holy
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. Stavros dropped his YouTube special last week, and he's not a big person, but he was on all the big
It
fucking
seems like
shows.
he's blowing up.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Because
Dude, he's blowing
great.
the fuck
Yeah.
up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've been, and I do watch a lot of YouTube content as well, like a lot of, kind of social commentators or like, people do like stuff on Twitch, like I'll check out Vosh's stuff or Hassan B's, like, and even like those are guys, like, I don't even agree with them on a lot of stuff, but I just find them to be entertaining. It's like sometimes like I don't necessarily need to like agree with you on something, but it's just like, whatever entertains you is what entertains you. It's like you can't really, so I watch, a lot of, there's a lot of YouTube personalities that I really like as well. Natalie Wynn, I don't know if you got ContraPoints. I don't know if that is, she's a trans content creator, really, really brilliant stuff. So I'm always, checking out whatever I can. I watch a lot of stuff, movie review stuff or, dissections like, oh, here's this, theory about this movie or what, what's that? Yeah, like just anything that like analyzes film stuff. I'm really into as well.
I've actually been like again just suggested on YouTube. I've been watching a lot of theory videos on for Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
So like
and that's stuff. If it's like a Wisecrack is a great one. They have a bunch of great kind of like philosophical breakdowns of like pop culture stuff. Anything that's kind of breaking down pop culture stuff, I'll usually get into. So there's a lot of I'm constantly absorbing content like everyone out there, I presume.
Yeah, since I got nothing else to do while I'm driving around by myself, it's like just I can have YouTube playing. I paid the extra $5 or whatever for YouTube a month, so I can just.
Oh, me too. Can't go back.
Yeah,
it
plays in the background.
YouTube Premium.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
Bro,
I'm not paying for the TV
podcast that has become our favorite podcast that you need to check.
And I think I think you would like it, especially considering you're in our age group. It's called Dudesy. It's starring Will Sasso and his one of his
hilarious.
buddy. Yeah, he's fucking great. And so speaking of original podcasts, he used to do the 10-minute podcast with Brian Callen and Chris D'Elia. And that's like right when I got into podcasts was through Rogan was the first one. And then I got into Joey Diaz through Rogan, Brian Callen realizing, oh shit, my man from Mad TV is back. But they're only like maybe like 14, 15 episodes into Dudesy. And it is the first ever podcast run and produced by an AI. And every week the AI is called Dudesy, and it tells them basically their topics. It gives them homework. They're like, okay, next week, one week they had to, or this week, for instance, they each had to bring in a piece of obsolete technology that they still own. So like Chad brought in this weird portable computer where it looked like a giant
laptops.
Yeah, it was like literally it's a giant metal box where you can pop off the top of it, and that was a keyboard. And then when you pop inside had like a little green monitor in it, and it had like basically like it had a DOS prompt, and it had like the first version of like MS Word, basically Microsoft Word, and then Will Sasso brought in some like old Palm Pilots, and he also brought in the fucking
Nokia phones.
Oh yeah, he brought back the OG little square Nokia phone that you could drop from the 6-story fucking building and still play Snake on that shit. But yeah, it's like it's hilarious because I feel like Will started to lose his mind during the pandemic, especially if you followed him on Instagram. He would do these videos where he would just have a song playing in the background and he would just start clapping, and then like randomly let random strangers come in and they would just and he was like smoking joints on fucking Instagram live. So I feel like this is just a great outlet for Will to get his silliness out. He did fucking 10-minute podcast for so long. Yeah. Chad Kulchin is a writer who is obsessed with The Bachelor. He's like written, I think, multiple books on The Bachelor, and like he considers it a sport. Like he considers The Bachelor like a game, basically, where each fucking person's ultimate goal is to try to get more influence on the internet. Like,
Instagram and stuff.
yeah, nobody ever really gets married off of The Bachelor. So the end goal is to not embarrass yourself, embarrass the fuck out of yourself, and try and gain the most followers after you're done with that fucking show.
There's a podcast that they break all that down on every week.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it because I Bachelor's like whatever. I've never whatever. But Doozy podcast, check it out. It is like by far, in my opinion, like the best new podcast out there.
It's something completely different. Like there's video segments. Like there's this week. Sometimes Ducey has now done this on 2 separate episodes where he demands that they smoke a joint at the beginning of the episode, like on the episode, and like they're not. They are very, very casual consumers. They are not potheads by any means. Like this last episode, Will hadn't smoked in a month, and he had
to smoke a whole joint
before they start the show. The first time they did it, it was just like you need to smoke it during the show, and now this one, Dudesy is like you have to smoke the whole thing beforehand, and he was like, all right, well, I'm ordering a pizza, and you get Will Sasso does all the great impressions, so. This show is inundated. I never use that word. This show is fucking inundated with all of your favorite Will Sasso impressions, except for Kenny Loggins. He hasn't done it, or no, Kenny Rogers. He hasn't done a Kenny Rogers.
He hasn't done Kenny Rogers yet, but I swear it's gonna come. But it is like it's the most entertaining podcast out there right now.
Dudesy almost has a bit of an attitude. Like it can be almost a little snarky and like will interrupt the boys at certain times when they're like really getting into like. I mean, granted, they start to just meander off topic, but he'll just like, "Thank you, moving on." That's like the voice. I'm like,
shake your hand. I want to shake your hand.
Yeah. And then the one thing you'll really love, Dudesy, if you don't do Dudesy's homework, it might punish you. So Will Sasso was just like. Didn't do the homework one week and was like, "No, I don't have to fucking listen to this fucking thing. It's a nothing." What I am
Will. I'm free Will.
Yeah, well, that was this week's episode. But so as punishment, Dudesy told him he has to come in dressed as the Crow, and
cosplay the Crow,
and he did. Like his fucking girlfriend like did the makeup. It was perfect. He had a wig on. It was so hilarious because he's a good like 300 pounds and like that shitty makeup makes you sweat, so by the end of the episode he's just a sloppy looking the Crow doing Al Pacino impressions.
It's amazing. You need to check it out.
What else?
The hard sell. I get it, guys.
Sorry, I'm like we nerd out on it. We would have done a shit ton more references by now if we didn't have you on today.
Normally we do. This is like literally a Dudesy review podcast. This is what this has turned into.
That's all right. That's all right.
What else, dude? Dan, I've been watching a lot of the shit that we've stopped watching. I got back into Two Bears One Cave the past 2 weeks. Oh, they had
Ron White on.
Yeah, Ron White was on Two Bears. Did you do you know Two Bears One Cave, Doc? That's Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura. But
I know who they are. I do not know about their podcast.
That's their show. But ever since Tom has moved to Texas, he now lives on a lake. The way Ron was talking about this dude's property, I was like, God damn. Ron called him out. Ron White literally was like, so how many cars do you have? I think Tom Segura listed off at least 6 cars worth over $75,000.
I think it's like 15 total. That's what he said on another.
Yeah, that's what. And then and now he's got a boat because I don't know if you know this, probably not since you don't know Two Bears One Cave. Bert and Tom are now in competition to see who can buy each other the more expensive birthday gift every year. Last year,
until they reach $1 million.
Bert got Tom basically a speedboat for his fucking, and then or actually I think, was that last year or this year? Because then I think he also got him jet skis. I feel like he got them both.
This year, or
That-
last year.
No, that was last year. And then this year, he bought Tom an actual race car. They're starting a race team, like an official, like
NASCAR.
whatever lower end, not NASCAR, but like whatever the local lower end kind of racing league thing. Yeah,
Well,
that's
now I
what
just feel poor. So thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude,
I
we're
don't
full
know.
of shit.
I don't think I want to listen to a show. People got so much money.
I will tell you
so many ways that they can waste it.
I will tell you, Doc. This is why I started it off by saying I went back to the things that we stopped listening to. Dan and I actually had this conversation maybe about 6 months ago where the shows started to become unlistenable because it's just like, oh, cool, another episode where they talk about their rich people problems. And I was like, you guys, you take your shirt off on stage. Like, I want you to be that guy, not I have so much money, I'm buying my friend a race car. Like, nobody wants to hear that shit, man. Like,
well, you're talking about it. So
yeah,
must be.
I'm a sucker for it. I'm a sucker. That's what you want to hear, Doc? I'm a sucker.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, listen, someone's clearly entertained by it, so you know.
Well, I mean, I heard it, and then I can't forget everything.
The Time Suck podcast with Dan Cummings this week was fucking amazing. He did the DC Snipers. He did a breakdown of it. Time Suck with Dan Cummings. Dan Cummings is a phenomenal comedian. But
I've listened to the show on Sirius, right?
I know it's on YouTube. I listened to it on YouTube.
Yeah, I've listened to his on Sirius, and it's great.
Okay. But yeah, the Time Suck podcast is become one of my other favorites because he does it could be like a deep dive into a cult from back when, or a deep dive of the Columbine shooting, 9/11, like all this crazy shit where he tries to make it funny. Like he did the Holocaust and shit recently. So like, how do you make the Holocaust funny? Like, like
don't ask me. I'm not the one.
So, like he did it, and it was kind of like it's not like all jokey, but like he like breaks it down. It gets real serious, and it gets to a point where it's like really heavy, and then he's like breaks away from the heavy shit to be funny for a second, and then goes back to the heavy shit. It is awesome. I've learned so much shit just from that podcast that I'll always listen to that.
Last one I think we'll mention, then we'll wrap it up because we're a little over an hour. I really loved this week's Tiger Belly. You know about Tiger Belly, Doc? That's Bobby Lee. Oh, again, we're just all huge Matt TV OG fans here. Freaking Bobby Lee, Brian Callen, and Will Sasso. Yeah. But yeah,
I love how the Mad TV people. It's like they took them like 20 years where they finally like got their revenge. It's like
I mean, Fox really fucked them over. Like it's bullshit that you can't buy a box set of Mad TV. I mean, like they never really gave them what they deserved. I felt like they just I mean, especially going up against I think they went right. They went up against SNL every week. So like, what the fuck, man? But yeah, Bobby Lee and his girlfriend Kalila. This week was just great. The whole soy boys, like they wanted to make how they're like. Bobby says he wants to have slaves, and he was like, this is Bobby Lee. Oh, and I'm sorry, Tiger Belly. I was talking about Bad Friends. I said Tiger Belly. I meant Bad Friends. Shit. Bad Friends is Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee. And yeah, they just try to get as offensive as possible. It's fucking hilarious.
Well,
And
you can have slaves, just get interns. Same thing.
Right.
so he goes, I don't want. He goes, I don't want. Bobby Lee goes, I don't want white slaves. I want Asian slaves. He's just like, it's just such a dumb segment. Like I don't know why I get so much pleasure out of that show. Maybe it's just because the level of ridiculousness. But if I'm gonna suggest one, yeah, it's the dude's a legend. But if you're gonna walk away for one episode or one show, you should check out Doc. It's fucking, it's dudesy. You're gonna love it. It's such a goof. Doc, we're gonna let you go. Thanks for coming on, man. Anything else you might remember you want to plug before you go? Your socials are
everything's my name.
DocCoyle.
Easy to find.
DocCoyl. That's kind of why I put it all in one word. ELE. Yeah. Sorry, words are hard. Doc, there's one thing we ask of our guests and our listeners, loyal listeners, is every week we ask you to make sure you tell somebody you love them. It's really important to us because as veterans and people who just live the lifestyle that we live, metalheads, veterans, we're a couple of drinkers as well. Like, we tend to lose people at a higher rate than your average person. And you never know if today might be the last time you see somebody. So Doc, we love you for being on. I love you as a buddy. Can't believe how long I've known you at this point. I'm so proud of your success, dude. It's amazing to watch. Dan, I love you only as a friend. Okay, take it easy.
More as a friend.
And thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Take care, guys.